Did the Vatican just excommunicate more than 700 SSPX priests and countless faithful? That is what many Catholics were led to believe after the Vatican released its July 2nd decree. But according to a detailed canonical analysis written by the judicial vicar of a major archdiocese, the answer is surprisingly different. His conclusion is simple. The decree did not do what many people think it did. The analysis begins with the 6 bishops named in the Vatican decree. These include the 4 newly consecrated SSPX bishops, along with Bishop Alfonso de Gallarita and Bishop Bernard Feli. The first 5 were cited under Canon 1387. That canon imposes an automatic, or late sententia, excommunication on bishops who consecrate another bishop without papal approval and on those who receive such consecration. But Bishop Feli was treated differently. He was charged under Canon 1364, the canon dealing with schism. According to the author, this distinction matters. Canon law does not automatically define an unauthorized episcopal consecration as schism. The analysis argues that Canon 751 defines schism as a complete rejection of submission to the Pope. It is not simply an act of disobedience. A person can refuse a specific command while still recognizing papal authority. The author says those are 2 very different things. The analysis then makes another important distinction. There is a difference between incurring a penalty and formally declaring a penalty. An automatic penalty may exist the moment an offense is committed, but a formal declaration requires legal procedures. Canon 1720 requires that an accused person be informed of the charges, shown the evidence, given a chance to defend himself, and judged through a decree explaining the reasons. Canon 1341 also requires that pastoral remedies such as correction, dialogue, and warnings be exhausted first. The author argues that none of these procedures were applied to SSPX priests. No priest was individually named. No accusation was personally delivered. No opportunity for defense was offered. Because of this, the analysis argues that SSPX priests cannot simply be declared excommunicated through a collective statement. The article then turns to the Vatican's explanatory note. According to the author, an explanatory note is not a law. It is not a judicial sentence. It is not a decree. It is simply a doctrinal commentary. Canon 7 requires laws to be properly promulgated. Canon 8 says universal laws must be published through official channels and normally include a waiting period before taking effect. The explanatory note was simply published as a PDF document. The author argues that it does not meet those legal requirements. Another issue concerns the wording of the documents. The decree itself warns that priests and faithful could incur excommunication if they adhere to schism. That is a warning about future conduct. But the explanatory note appears to state that SSPX ministers are already in schism and already subject to penalties. The author says these 2 statements are legally inconsistent. Under Canon 18, when penal texts are unclear, the interpretation that is less severe must prevail. The analysis also argues that canon law does not permit mass excommunications in this manner. Canon 1321 requires individual responsibility. Canons 1323 and 1324 list circumstances that can reduce or eliminate guilt, including ignorance, fear, or necessity. These circumstances must be evaluated person by person. The burden of proof belongs to the accuser. It does not belong to the accused. Finally, the author addresses the sacraments. He argues that the validity of SSPX confessions and marriages remains unchanged. Pope Francis granted faculties for SSPX confessions in 2016 through Misericordia et Misera. Marriage delegation was confirmed in 2017. The July 2nd documents do not explicitly revoke either permission. For that reason, the analysis concludes that the decree accomplished one thing. It identified 6 bishops as having incurred automatic excommunication, but did not formally excommunicate SSPX priests. It did not automatically excommunicate SSPX faithful. And according to this canonical interpretation, the practical situation for most priests and faithful remains exactly as it was before the decree was issued.